Hi, everybody. Good morning. We're going to start church now. I'm Louise, music minister here. I'm going to mute everybody. It's just easier that way. Thank you. So, good morning. I'm a little under the weather, so I'm not going to do an opening song. Dear Dr. Kim is still busy. She helped Reggie in Europe, and I think he's still there, but she's on her way home, and she should be here next week.
Louise Dobbs is our amazing music director, and she does have an issue with her throat this morning. So unfortunately, we won't be hearing from her. But I am the Reverend Janet Gollery McKisson, and I'm super happy to be here. It makes me happy just to see everyone on the screen, and it makes me happy just to know what we stand for and who we are. Some of you know that we are very unique, but when you leave for a while and come back, you really realize uh, how special we are. So it warms my heart to be back. I'm really, really happy to be here. But you may be wondering if you are welcome here, because so many people have been hurt by various religions and various organizations that it may not be obvious that you're welcome. But you are welcome here. If you're Buddhist, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, atheist, or some kind of combination or something else altogether, you're welcome here. You're especially welcome if you have had trouble with other organized religions, and many people have. If you're single, married, divorced, gay, transgender, very rich, or living on the edge, you're welcome here. We don't care if you're more religious than the Pope or if you haven't been to church since your nephew's baptism. We extend a special welcome to those who are under 2. So all you who are under 2, raise your hand. Welcome. And who are over 85, we welcome you especially. We welcome you if you're in recovery or still addicted, if you're having problems or are down in the dumps. We welcome you if you don't like organized religion or if you do. We welcome you if this is the only time you ever hear about religion or if you have another place that you also go. We welcome you if you are inked, pierced, or both. We offer a special welcome to those who could use a prayer right now or had religion shoved down your throat as a kid. We welcome you if you doubt things, if you question a lot of stuff. We especially welcome you. You are welcome at the church in Ocean Park. We want to begin by acknowledging that most of us right now sit on stolen land. In Santa Monica, the land was taken violently from the Chumash, the Quiche, and the Tongva peoples. We acknowledge the harms of genocide, forced assimilation, enslavement, and the destruction at the hands of the U.S. colonial settlerism. We also acknowledge that our communities and our country was built on the backs of people who were stolen from Africa, placed into bondage, and forced into labor. We acknowledge that we benefit from that labor that has never been repaid. In our acknowledgement, let us commit ourselves to healing by helping to create a more just and equitable world through the struggle of changing how we do things, especially those things that we think are normal, but are actually systemically hurting people. Let's take a moment in our acknowledgement. All of us have biases that we don't know about, and some of them we do know about. We still have them. And it takes intentionality to build compassion for people whose lives are really different from ours. We seek to work together across boundaries to tear down unjust systems and build new relationships of healing and hope. This morning, you'll hear from a variety of people, and if you hear something you disagree with, know that they don't speak for the church in Ocean Park in its entirety, and that your voice is just as important as theirs. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for helping break barriers and build more equity and compassion. Thank you for being a part of trying to bend the arc toward justice. And we center ourselves each week with a chant by Thich Nhat Hanh. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now 3 times. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. I want to thank Chaplan Joseph again for being the pastor on call and everywhere while I was away from my sabbatical. And we welcome him again this morning to bring the reading and then the message. Welcome, Chaplan Joseph.
Thank you very much, Reverend Janet. Glad to be here with you again and to see so many lovely, smiling, and pleasant faces. We give God thanks. Today I'm going to read from the Old Testament of the Christian Bible, and the reading comes from the book of Numbers. We have Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. We read from Numbers chapter 11, verses 1 to 6. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord, and the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire was quenched. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us meat to eat? We remember the fish. We remember we did eat in Egypt freely. We ate cucumbers and melons and leeks and onions and garlic. But now our soul is dried away, and there is nothing at all. Thanks be to God for the word. So my message comes from these words, and now our soul is dried away. Notice the emphasis in this verse. Our soul is dried away, and there is nothing at all. Recently, at a get-together for a palliative care nurse who was going on retirement, I saw a photograph hanging there on the wall. And it was a man looking out into the distance, and the words under the photograph said, relax, nothing is under control. Relax, nothing is under control. Now, this is how I interpret this. I'm going to start with 3 illustrations, one from the Sound of Music, one from astronomy, and the other one from our own inventiveness, our own inventiveness. The 2 movies that inspired me most, and I think the 2 best movies of all time, one was The Sound of Music, and the other one was that great encounter between Moses and the people of Israel, and taking them up into the promised land. So those 2 movies were very inspiring to me, and especially the Sound of Music. In the Sound of Music, brothers and sisters, we have Maria von Trapp, played by indomitable Julie Andrews, who is now, I think, 87 years of age. And Maria von Trapp was a very troubled child because when she was 2 years of age, her mother died suddenly, I think of pneumonia. Her mother died when she was 2. She had no one to take care of her, really. And so her father took over the job of caring for her, but he was not able to manage it because he was overgrown with sorrow. He was overtaken with sorrow and grief, and he decided to go and travel to alleviate his grief. So he traveled all about and neglected Maria. When Maria was 9 years of age, he died. So her father died when she was 9. So she had nobody else to take care of her except an uncle. And when the uncle came on the scene, the uncle abused her since she was 9 years of age. Your uncle abused her, ill-treated her, until eventually the uncle was discovered as mentally ill. So throughout Maria von Trapp's whole youth, whole childhood and part of her youth, in fact, she eventually ran away from home. And so we could say, as we look upon her life, that she had nothing. She had nothing. She had no family, she had no support, she had no proper education at one time, she had no future at that particular instance. She was abused and ill-used. She had nothing. But my view today is that nothing is always something. There is no such thing as nothing. There is no such thing as nothing. And the song reminds us in the Sound of Music when it says, you know that well-known song that came in the Sound of Music, nothing comes from nothing, nothing ever will. That is true philosophically, that is true. Nothing can come from nothing. But then she goes on with the song, but somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good. So where we think there was nothing at all, as she looks back on her life, there was something that motivated her. There was something special in her, Maria. She was good at teaching. She was good with children. And so she went into teaching, and the rest is history. She was able to meet this baron, and she became a teacher of his 7 children, and then she herself had 3 children as well. So she became a VIP, we could say. She had life, she had everything. She had authority, she had power, she probably had wealth, and she had a profession and a job that she enjoyed. So many times when we look at our lives and we think that there is nothing, think again. Nothing is under control. Relax. Relax. I want to look at nothing as well in the sense of astronomy. In astronomy, astronomers are saying now that there are holes in the universe. There are areas of blackness where there are no stars, nothing at all. Even the modern telescopes can't see anything. And they believe and they speculate now that maybe these holes where we can't see anything at all from any modern telescope, maybe it's a wormhole that leads into another galaxy. Maybe it's a space where it's maybe a white hole. There are white holes now, and there are black holes as well. So maybe it's one of those because nothing can be seen. There's nothing there. And then we got this James Webb telescope that they launched up into about a mile up in space. And the James Webb telescope shows us that where we thought there was nothing at all and just blackness, just energy. The James Webb telescope shows us that there are major galaxies in there. And scientists are surprised because they did not think that there would be major, well-developed galaxies so distant into the universe. So they have to now rethink the age of the universe. It's not 31.8 billion years anymore. It must be longer than that, because where we used to see black space and nothing, there are well-developed galaxies even in there. So where there is nothing, there is something. We got nothing under control because of the major James Webb telescope and many others that may come like it, that will show us that where there is nothing, there's really something there. When we think that there's nothing can happen to us, nothing can save us, nothing can help us, nothing can motivate us, there is always something there. And when we look back, we can say, like the words of that song, I must have done something good, because out of that came everything and more than I even anticipated or expected. And then we have nothing. I have it right here. I have it right here. I have nothing in my hand. This is the nothing phone. This is the phone called Nothing. Have you heard of it? Yes, it is called Nothing. A new cell phone developed by consumer electronics manufacturer in London, United Kingdom in July 2020. In the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of recessions worldwide, in the midst of people dying in the millions worldwide, in the midst of fear and anxiety and people being masked all over the world, in the midst of all this stress and distress, we could well say, oh, there's nothing to be done. We can't do anything. Huh? Nothing is there to save us or to remotivate us. But out of all of this, nothing came. Nothing came. And this phone called Nothing, I decided to get it just for the curiosity, because I'm going to send it back. I have enough time to send it back and get my money back. But I just wanted to see what Nothing is. And Nothing is more developed than the consumers believe that Nothing, the Nothing phone, is as good as the many modern phones that we have presently. It's as good as the iPhone. It's as good as the Google Pixel 6a and Google Pixel 7, which are long in the making. And this has just come, first time. And what this tells me, brothers and sisters, is this, that we invented something in the midst of all our worldwide distress and our personal inconsistencies and our personal distresses. We invented something and we called it Nothing. God sees nothing and he invents something. And this is what makes me reflect. And this is what gives me encouragement and motivation. We invented something and we called it nothing out of our own stress and distress. And God sees nothing. And he invents everything. God invents everything. This is a message for us today. Relax. Nothing is under control. And then we go to the Old Testament. Oh, yes, the Old Testament. Numbers chapter 11. Conditions were so bad that a particular race could prefer to go back into slavery. Things must be really bad. Things must be really bad, especially since they were just miraculously led out of slavery through the Red Sea and still have a leader, Moses, a champion to guide them and to lead them, but Moses was getting old. Moses was getting old. And I wanted to say something about the old leadership because we need to, you see, the Bible has everything, you know. It has every message there because the leaders were too old now to continue to lead the people of Israel. And Moses complained to God, I can't manage this. He agreed. I'm not able at this time now to manage the people of Israel, these millions of people going, and we are just 11 days journey from the promised land, just 11 days journey from the promised land. But I can't make it anymore. I can't put up with all the dissensions and the arguments and all of that. And so God says to Moses, take 70 men. Go and look for 70 people, men and women, 70 people, and get them together and form a committee, and they will help you to lead. And we are surrounded now by older people who are not able to manage anymore. But we so focus on independence rather than what Bob will call interdependence, that we are the leaders on both parties are struggling to make it, and it is time for new leadership to take us into the promised land, into where we have a time of newness, of good relationship, of good stewardship, of responsibility, of enthusiasm. And so, what about the soul of our nation today? 11 days journey from the promised land. And you know how long it took them to get there? 38 years. 38 years. And it was just 11 days straight journey from there. It took them 38 more years to get to the promised land. Why? Because they thought they had nothing. There was nothing for them. They became miserable. They turned to idol worship, and our soul is dried away, and there is nothing at all. And they prefer now to go back into slavery. Think about this. Those of us who are from the Caribbean who are colored people or Black Americans, to prefer to go back into slavery is a serious thing. It's a serious thing. It's almost like a mission of self-destruction, suicide. Have we reached that position? Have we reached that stage? The present president is always talking about the soul of the nation. Are we dried away? Is there nothing at all for us? When we look at our own families, We have death in our families. We have chaos in our families. We have alienation in our families. We have all sorts of things in our families. Is there nothing we can do? There's always something. There is nothing at all. And then when he looked again in verse 6, except this manna, they had manna. The word manna in Hebrew means, what is this? They didn't even know what it was. They tried to cook it and they tried to make it and all of that. And they said it tasted like oil. And I know what pure oil is like. When I was growing up, my mother used to give us castor oil every 3 months. All of us had to take a teaspoonful of pure castor oil every 3 months. And we had to line up one by one. I'm the eldest and I first get it until one day I say, Mom, can't we get something else to take instead of this castor oil? And she gave us a spoonful of sugar. And I remember the words of the song, just a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down in a most delightful. Do we have a teaspoonful of sugar? Do we have something that we can build upon? Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So I think I went too long and we give God thanks for enabling us to recognize that we ought to continue to plan. We ought to continue to decide and to find balance and to find equilibrium. That is what relaxing is. It is not doing nothing. It is finding balance. It is finding equilibrium. It is finding a sense of control where we thought nothing can be done and nothing exists and nothing is able to help us. There is always that little manna. We may not know what it is. We may not know what to name it. It may seem insignificant to us, but that is able, if we focus and if we relax, if we regain balance, we will find that we have a treasure. Maria von Trapp saw that she had a treasure, and that is why that song is so memorable. Nothing comes from nothing, philosophically true. But somewhere in our childhood or youth, we must have done something good. Relax. Nothing is under control. Thanks be to God.
That was a wonderful message. Thank you, Chaplain Joseph. And now we're going to hear a song from Lee Beck. Can I give a little bio of you, Lee Beck? I think we never heard one. May I? Lee Beck is a California native, born in 1941. He's had a successful career as a fundamentalist evangelist, preacher, radio host, actor, writer, producer, union organizer, husband, father, grandfather to many, and champion for the underserved and wronged. He's a staple of the Silver Lake arts community, and Lee continues to be on the forefront of accessible, socially relevant performing arts productions. He's the artistic director at Public Works Improvisational Theater. I assume that's still true?
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, you're on. Give us a song, Lee.
Hey, first, want to say to add to my resume, I'm now a great-grandfather. Just recently got to see my second great-grandchild, which was a girl, which is very unusual in my family. So that was a big thrill. And the song I've chosen to sing today is in honor of a great artist who passed away last week, Sinead O'Connor, her untimely death at the age of 56. And this reminded me of a dear friend of mine who died at the age of 57, who loved this song, and we often sang it together. So I'm going to sing it for you guys now. It's called This Is to Mother You. This is to mother you, to comfort you and get you through when your nights are lonely, through when your dreams are only blue. This is to mother you. This is to be with you, to hold you and to kiss you too. For when you need me, I will do what your own mother didn't do, which is to mother you. All the pain that you have known, all the violence in your soul, all the wrong things you have done, I will take from you when I come. All mistakes made in distress, all your unhappiness, I will take away with my kiss. Yes, I will give you tenderness. For child, I am so glad I found you. Although my arms have always been around you, sweet bird, although you did not see me, I saw you, and I'm here to mother you, to comfort you and get you through when your nights are lonely, through when your dreams are only blue. This is to mother you.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, Lee. Thank you so much. Lee always comes through for us, and what a beautiful, poignant song, especially after Chaplain Joseph's message.
Yes, I wanted to thank Chaplain Joseph for his good message too. Thank you.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lee, for coming, supporting her again.
Always glad to be here. Thank you.
Great. So now it's time for community sharing. I just want to say first that there is so much in that message, Chaplain Joseph. I'm so glad to be back. This morning I was saying sometimes a minister needs a minister. Well, I got one, so I'm so excited that you're here, and that was great ministering to me. Anyway, thank you so much. So we already have 4 hands up. Jerry Rubin.
Right. Great song and great sermon, Joseph. Appreciate it a lot. I was thinking about my older brother, Bob, who was a really great astronomer himself when you were talking about all those discoveries. He passed away a few years ago. I remember he came a couple of times to the parties we had at the church in Ocean Park.
Yep.
I couldn't help but think, and this is kind of crazy because there's no basis for anything that I think about in this way. I trust the scientists a lot on climate change, on health, on everything. But I'm just wondering, 100, 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now, imagine that things change so much and the concepts we believe now, even about black holes and outer space and galaxies, turn out to be completely false, just like the concept of the Earth being flat turned out false. I mean, that would blow my mind. But the point is, we know it's true. We know it feels terrible to be sick. Right, Louise? Absolutely. It feels terrible when a loved one is lost or sick. It hurts when you bump your knee on the kitchen table or when you're hungry. You know these things and you feel them, and you don't need any proof to understand it. And the other thing I was thinking about when you were talking about age, I'll be 80 in December. I know people older than me that are smarter than me, that are better leaders than me in every way, shape, and form, obviously. But I don't think it's so much age, because if someone is saying, I'm too old to do this, I want to let you know that's commendable. My dad felt so compelled to drive a car. He almost got us all killed driving to my mom's funeral once because he insisted on driving, and no one could talk him out of it. So I respect that if someone admits that I'm not feeling up to it, to say it. But that's not so much age. There are people who are 20 or 30 or 40 that should say that. I'm not qualified to do it, and it has nothing to do with my age. And there's people older than 80, 85 that are completely qualified to be leaders. It's just a matter of health, emotional and physical integrity. So all I just want to say is it's so interesting to hear all of these thoughts as a not really religious person, because they carry a lot of insight and wisdom, and the way they're all presented means a lot. So thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Jean?
Well, I loved the title, Relax, Nothing is Under Control. And it reminds me of something that I'm learning right now. I'm in an 8-month life coaching program. And, I want to have a business for my retirement. And I've had kind of enough of tutoring, so I want to go to the next stage. But one of the things that I've learned is that human beings, we all have this ebb and flow of feelings and motivation and energy. And we tend, especially in this Western culture, to label things as bad and as good. So sometimes when I used to hit one of those troughs, like you're all motivated and you're excited and you're doing all these things, and all of a sudden there's nothing. There's nothing. And I would get depressed. I have a history of depression in my family, and so that would be my go-to. I would go there immediately. This is bad. I have no energy, and I would feel like I will never have energy again. I will never wake up and have energy again. That's how it felt to me. And what I'm learning in this life coaching course is to invite these feelings in, accept them, but to not even just accept them, but to welcome them, because the body has wisdom. And when we're exhausted, when we're devoid of motivation, there's this process that's going on in our body that has wisdom that's trying to tell us something. You need a rest, or you need reflection, or you need contemplation, or you need to change direction, or you need to get this person out of your life, or you need to get more positive people in your life. There's so many different things, but it's changed me in a big way, because I used to hit those troughs, and then I would spend 3 days just doing nothing and feeling bad about it. And now I hit that trough and I think, and then I get to be curious about it. I wonder what's going on here. What can I learn from this? So Reverend Chaplan Joseph, oh my gosh, nothing is under control. So when that nothing hits, if we're curious about it and we wonder what kind of wisdom it has to teach us, it's a whole different thing entirely. Thanks.
Yeah, yes, because that is part of what meditation is. We think that meditation is blocking out all the songs and the thoughts and the feelings, but we are encouraged to let them come in meditation. But when they come, we acknowledge them, and then we we refocus. So we are aware, of all these things. That's the difficulty with meditation. We don't get away from everything. We are not a tabula rasa, a blank slate. But as the things come, we acknowledge them. Oh, you're there? Okay. And once we acknowledge them and we realize they are there, then we could refocus. And that's part of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane. And thank you, Just. Craig?
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is, I feel there is a deep need to continue to have that conversation, in that when we look at those things that are historical, various phrases come up: let go, let God, and the meek shall inherit the earth. And I'm wondering if this is just not, a forerunner into quite possibly a strategy, because I feel it takes a lot of strength to stand up to power that is either as great or greater than you, and to not have it affect you. But I feel that when you say this, nothing, I'm wondering if indeed that is not a valid strategy to deal with the arrogance and the greed and the hostility towards each other, to which it can have a serious effect, within that brother. If there was a comment, that could help me with that, I'd most appreciate, because I live in that world quite often, as to, how do I, battle with someone who has everything?
Well, we are realizing that those who we think have everything are not able to control what they have. They're not able to recognize the significance of what they have. I have read that about 90% of the people who won the lottery, millions and millions of dollars in the lottery, 90% of them didn't fare well at all in their lives. So it's not the wealth and the VIP and the importance and the significance or our wealth. It is sometimes the little things that we cherish that gives us a sense of new meaning and purpose. And it sort of helps us to bump over and see over and beyond the difficulties that we have. I think that's what happened with the children of Israel. They wanted to. They were looking back at all the melons and even the garlic. They said they would prefer to go back to have the garlic, and garlic is a bitter thing. I mean, you can't eat garlic, but we have to not to season our food with garlic, but season our garlic with food. We have to season our garlic with food.
Thank you. Thank you, Chaplan. Bob.
Okay. Joseph, you're so inventive with your ideas that I'm inspired to try to convey a kind of philosophical point, and whether I can do that successfully in just a very brief amount of time remains to be seen, but I'm going to make an attempt. I couldn't resist, because this nothingness is a very, very interesting subject. I recently read a book by, now I forgot her name. Her last name is Adele. And
Jenny Odell.
Jenny Odell. That's the one. Thank you, Hurley Jim. About saving time, and she addresses the question of how we can avoid, complete despair in the face of what seems to be catastrophic future for much of the human race because of climate change. And she reminds us of the importance of human agency. She says that no matter what we face, humans will always have agency, which means they will not merely be the victims of whatever happens. Now, agency is an interesting philosophical concept. If you think of, here's why it's problematic. We tend to think of history or whatever happens in the world as a chain of cause and effect, right? First you have a cause, that brings an effect. That brings another effect, and so forth. But if you think of the world simply that way, where's agency? In other words, how can we make a choice if everything is sort of predetermined by previous causes? And that's where a philosopher I studied a lot named Jean-Paul Sartre brings in the concept of nothingness. Actually, he does a lot with that concept. But one thing he does is to say that in human life, we experience there's a gap between what happened before and what we decide to do. In other words, what we do is not merely the product of what has happened up to that point. We have a certain freedom, which is brought about almost by a kind of nothingness or a gap between cause and effect. In other words, there's this realm we have where nothing is decided. I decide. I make up my own mind. So I'm not just acted upon, I'm sort of acting upon myself and making a choice. Mm-hmm. And so nothingness, in a certain sense, is a precondition for agency, and agency is a precondition for creativity and responding to the world in new ways and creative ways, and not just being a victim. Okay, I tried it. If you want to talk more, we'll talk after class. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Great, I love that idea. Louise.
Yeah, thank you, Chaplain Joseph. I love the concept and the talk very much. I just want to say personally that thank you, Jerry. Yes, I have been sick and in pain, and of course it could be a lot worse. Of course, one thinks of that often if you think about other people, but it doesn't take away that I have been in pain in my throat, swallowing, etc., fever. But this morning I feel so hopeful, and out of the nothing of feeling like, am I ever going to get better, comes a feeling of hope, just being with all of you. I'm just so grateful for this community right now. I'm just feeling that gratitude of being with you. Whether I can sing or not, it doesn't matter as much as just being here in fellowship with you. And I feel a lot of hope today, and I feel like that's going to help me heal. So that's all I got to say. Thank you so much again.
Wonderful. Chuck.
Hey, Chuck?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, if I've said in the past, everything for me seems to be personal, and maybe that's just something quirky about my personality, but I'm suffering because of Sinead O'Connor's death. And I was not really a fan. I don't know much about her except for her activism. And man, did she make a statement. I mean, you don't just tear up the picture of a pope on television, and you don't just shave your head when you're very beautiful with hair. This is self-serving, but in my family background, on my mother's side, I'm O'Connor. I have O'Connor blood. So I can using my creativity and my imagination, I can put myself right in her presence as brother and sister relationship. And I read about her past and what she went through in her childhood, especially abuse from her own mother. And the song that Lee did was so beautiful, so beautiful. And this whole thing of taking the tragedy of your life and putting it into art that makes a statement that is absolutely positive, and nurturing to the people who experience it's such a big freaking deal. And the statement, in my life, I must have done something good. For Sinead, I say in her life, she was doing something good. Every day that she lived, she was doing something good. 56 years old, she had 4 marriages, she had children, she had a suicide in her with her son. I guess I'm able to make people heroes, but believe me, right now, I've never had a greater hero than this moment. It's just if I wanted to be an activist and get somebody's attention, I'd try to behave the way she has and try to live my life in the way she did. Anyway, thank you for listening.
It's beautiful, Chuck. It's very beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Daria, and then we'll have Bonnie, and then that will be it for today.
Yeah, thank you, Chaplan Joseph. It's really fascinating listening to your sermons. And one thing that strikes me as I listen to you is kind of in the context of like, what does it mean to listen to an interpretation of, say, a word or a biblical passage or an idea from a radically different context than, say, maybe what I come from. And I heard you reference the Caribbean and the experiences you had growing up. And it just, I guess, makes me think about the very different ways that people can approach, say, a word like nothingness or nothing, and then the concept of nothingness. And I guess I'm just like sitting in the gratitude of, oh wow, this is a different perspective, and it's fascinating to hear what you have to say about it. So thank you.
So thank you all. I guess Bonnie, you're no longer.
No, it's okay.
You want to speak?
Well, should we sing the song "I Got Plenty of Nothing"? Just kidding. Okay, I'll just say that when Joseph first talked about the biblical thing, the numbers, I thought, well, yeah, the Lord, whatever that is, doesn't like complaining, but I still oftentimes come up with, well, why? Why this? Why that? Why does this entity known as God allow the human race to run amok, why certain things happen. In my own life, I can reflect, and it's taking years. You know, the whys of certain challenges I've had. And then I become grateful for them. It's tough. There are other challenges, deficiencies, and so forth. Well, why? Dang it, I would love to be able to do this, do that. But I can't. And it's coming into acceptance, coming into gratitude as best I can. And I think we all here are lucky that we get to think of these things and process.
Thank you. I think as children, we ask why a lot, because we are now growing and developing and our mind is expanding and so on. But when we get older, we ask what. So that's what I tell my patients. Chaplan, why is this happening to me now? Why is so? Why is so? And I say, well, what can we do with this situation now?
Yeah.
What can we have? What can we do? What can we think of doing? What is our next move? You know? Yeah. And when you think of it in that way, of the what, when nothing is there, but the why, something is there, comes out of the what. And it brings meaning and purpose eventually.
I will say, though, as a child, I was taught not to question. It just was, you just did. So now it's like, who am I? How come? But not always, not in the form of complaint, but just, okay. Grateful when the insights come, and when they don't come, okay. It is what it is. Thank you, everybody. I sure appreciated your thoughts.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, Chuck, real quick.
What Joseph said about changing the why to what, I have learned from my a wonderful man, a mentor, to use how. If something's happened in your life, how am I using my energy to cause this to happen? And if I look at it from that, using the how instead of the why, the what is also extremely important. But if you use the how am I doing this? How am I causing this? For example, how am I causing my grief over Sinead O'Connor? Well, I'm doing it by choice. I want to just exhaust it. I want to love her in whatever way I can and feel whatever depth of emotion I can for her. But in how I'm doing that, I have no doubt nobody's doing it for me. So I'm doing it, and how I do it is personal. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. We're going to end this, close this time together, and then we're going to go to you, Linda, okay? After we close this time. She wants to share something with us.
Do we do the song now, or should Linda share now?
Or maybe after the song, I guess. I just want to say, Joseph, that this message had so much in it, both for not just the nation but our community, and also our church and Ocean Park community. And that kind of demonstrated when Bonnie spoke, because Bonnie and you just had like a little mini sermon right there. That was a sermon in and of itself, your conversation. So I think that could happen with a lot of different aspects of what you said. So I really appreciate the sermon so much, and it really touched me in so many ways. I do want to go to Hurley Jim now. Hurley Jim is another person who helped at the last minute, is supporting us this morning with a song in lieu of Louise having an issue with her throat. So thank you, Hurley Jim, and we'll hear from you now. Thank you.
But can I say something about Hurley Jim first?
Yeah.
I've known Hurley Jim probably 45 years in different contexts, and Hurley Jim embodies the idea of beloved community as much or more than anyone I know, and has really embraced that concept and carried it out in his life, in his personal relationships, and with people. He's also an environmental activist. He knows a lot about plants, animals, environment, water. He's amazing. He's in my connection circle on Tuesdays, and I'm very grateful to be your friend for 45 years, Hurley Jim. How about a song right now?
Well, Louise, you're going to choke me up and then ask me to sing a song. So I love you, Louise, too. It's been a great time together and knowing you. Thank you for those words. Yeah, well, we've spent the morning talking about nothing. Thanks, Reverend Joseph. I'm not going to sing a song about nothing. Well, actually, I am, and I guess in the other way. This is a song that was written by and song recorded by Jose Luis Orozco, and he actually came to the church for a while. He would join us in our choir before church and sang some of his songs, sang our songs. So I learned this song from him, and I will just sing it for you. Para los niños de todo el mundo queremos paz y libertad. Para los niños de todo el mundo queremos paz y libertad. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Ya no más hambre, ya no más guerra, queremos paz en esta tierra. Ya no más hambre, ya no más guerra, queremos paz en esta tierra. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. Paz, queremos paz y libertad en este mundo. There are other verses, but those are the best ones in my opinion. Very simple. We want peace for all the children of the world. And we are all the world's children.
Beautiful.
All right. For people who have died either recently or as an anniversary or different reasons. And unfortunately, last week, you, I think, heard that Abby's ex-husband was in bad shape. Well, he didn't make it, and so we are going to remember him with our ritual now.
So Abby wanted us to sing These Do I Remember, but Abby, did you want to say a few things about your ex, Dave Vincent?
He'll be best remembered because he's the father of a really great son, you know, good enough to have his son manage everything that had to do with the end of his life, and that included losing his mind, losing his apartment, spending all his money, you know, finding a final assisted living place. And Ryan did a wonderful job, and also a place, you know, where I could go visit Dave and kind of reconnect in a way.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to sing These Do I Remember. The words are, these do I remember, remember well. These do I remember. We'll say that 4 times. And the last little section is through all the years. I think we'll do it 2 times. These do I remember, hang on 1 second. I forgot the music. Here it is. There we go. These do I remember well. These do I remember. Excuse me? Okay. Remember well, these do I remember well, through all the years. These do I remember well. 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 Through all the years. We remember Dave Vincent. Bonnie's suggestion was so fantastic, I had to grab it.
Thank you, Jean.
I've got plenty of nothing.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Linda Bond has just told us that Itachu is now on palliative care, so we lift them up with extra concern and love in our hearts for both of them as they go through this time. There's so much this morning that has happened. 38 years to take an 11-day journey. And the reason that happened was because they didn't think they had anything. Sometimes we all believe that we don't have anything. We can look around and all we have is money. And what the heck is that? We don't know what it is. Help us all to look for our treasure as a part of our mana. We all have it. There are treasures all around us and inside of us. So go forth in peace and remember your mana is what you make of it. Now unmute yourself. We'll say together.
And I just want to remind folks there's an administrative board meeting today at 12:30.
That's right. Unmute yourself and we're going to say together, we're going to grab hands across the world as if we're across the world, and including everybody, the people that we don't notice, the people we walk over, the people who are next to the liquor store, and we're going to include these people, and we're going to say together, carry on. 1, 2, 3. Carry on.
Carry on. Carry on.